After my ears disappeared, I joined a game. Winners could get their facial features back. But near the end, I became a real pig. Everyone who lost their features was locked in the pharmacy's underground pigpen. The old man called it a cure. The stench was overwhelming. Strangely, there were no pigs. After a disheveled woman entered, a fire tongue holding a red notebook followed. Dear guests, you can find what you seek here, wishing you a speedy recovery. I quietly studied all the patients locked in the pigpen. There were 37 people in total. Some, like me, had no ears, others lacked eyes, mouths, noses, or eyebrows, yet everyone seemed normal. I had no ears but could still hear, others' missing organs seemed unaffected. What was in the pigpen that we all wanted? Could it be to find our missing features here? I was startled by this absurd thought. Hurry, everyone, after dark the pigs come. Before anyone could ask, the fire tongue vanished into thin air. The pigpen erupted in chaos. Everyone shouted at once. What good could be in a pigpen? Someone yelled they wouldn't be treated here. My eyes wandered through the crowd, landing on the last woman to enter. She kept her head down, long hair covering her entire head. I couldn't help but feel curious. I wondered what she had lost. My ears had vanished while I was brushing my teeth. After my ears disappeared, my world went silent. The usual noise, the deafening traffic at rush hour, and the crying that once annoyed me, I could no longer hear any of it. Just as I fell into panic and despair, I stumbled upon this pharmacy hidden deep in the mountains. The old man gave me a miraculous, foul-smelling pill. A person cannot lose any of their 5 features, he said, smiling, patting where my ears should be. My hearing returned, but my ears were still missing. I felt restless. These fools didn't seem to notice something was wrong with this pigpen. I remembered what the attendant said. After dark, the pigs come. I had a feeling that no matter what kind of pig it was, it would be extremely dangerous. The priority was finding an ally to stand with me through the night. Before entering, I asked the old man what would happen if I couldn't find my ears. He looked at me meaningfully and said, "You'll return to how you were when you came." I suspected the pill he gave me had a time limit. When time ran out, I, without ears, would become deaf. I would remember. 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 I would. I needed someone to be my ears. I quickly identified the best ally, the tallest man here, with a chilling gaze. His face was terrifying without a mouth. Just as I was discussing teaming up with him, the entire pigpen began to shake violently. The crowd stirred again, mixed with panicked screams. Ha ha, here it comes. An inappropriate laugh stood out at that moment. It was the disheveled woman. No, maybe it wasn't a woman. Her laugh was deep and rough. It was clearly a man's voice. She laughed maniacally, her voice filled with uncontrollable madness. She said, say it now. This is it." At that moment, the brick wall of the pigpen shook, and bricks fell away, revealing a rectangular timer. 2 minutes. Sharp screams rang out again. No one knew what was happening. Ha ha ha, the sudden countdown undoubtedly brought panic to everyone. No one knew what would happen when it ended. That person kept laughing like a madman. Watching her, I felt more certain of something. If I wasn't wrong, we had all fallen into a huge trap. This pigpen was no ordinary pigpen. It was like a game, with organizers, participants, and supervisors. The so-called cure was just the organizer's sick joke. If this was a game, the first step was to form a team. Only 1 minute remained on the countdown. To ensure safety, the tall man and I split up to find more teammates. Others quickly caught on and began seeking allies. My team soon gathered 5 people. We were missing noses, eyes, ears, eyebrows, and mouths respectively. If time ran out, the old man's pills would fail. I needed to ensure our team had all 5 features. We 5 stood together at the last second of the countdown. Several people in the pigpen instantly exploded, their bodies torn apart. Lead turned into beads upon hitting the ground, clattering on the concrete floor. Ha ha, the disheveled woman laughed again, even more exaggeratedly this time. He laughed so hard he seemed to convulse, rolling on the ground several times. His laugh was eerie and sinister, piercing the heart. Stop laughing. A girl was terrified, her nerves nearly breaking. A bolder man walked up and kicked him hard. Shut up. The man seemed to feel no pain and kept laughing. Then, the pigpen's iron gate He had another lap in the swamp, charging at us with a forced laugh. 37 checks, 6 misses. The swamp doesn't like loners. All the dead were solo players. Clearly, I picked the right team this time. There were 5 puzzle pieces in the swamp. Find them all and you get your organs back. The moment the lighter finished speaking, the walls behind us collapsed completely. It was a pitch-black entrance, except for the disheveled woman. Everyone's face was heavy with dread. 5 puzzle pieces meant only 5 people could recover their missing organs. Each swamp game had a different difficulty. Everyone chose carefully. The afternoon of the disheveled woman finally came to an end. He picked himself up off the ground and stumbled toward the dark entrance. I quickly led the team to follow behind him. All the loners were dead. Only this disheveled woman was still alive. I felt like she must be hiding some secret. After stepping into the darkness, a blinding white light hit us. Before us were 6 doors, 3 marked life, 3 marked death. Beneath the words life and death were 6 bold characters, 5 people per door. After reading the words on the doors, many rushed desperately toward the life doors. Several newly formed teams hesitated. Some refused to believe it and followed along. Soon a blood-curdling scream came from inside the door, and a body was hurled out. The person's face was covered in blood. When he looked up, it was even more horrifying. He had no nose to begin with, and now his eyes had been gouged out. No one dared to charge into the life doors, but no one wanted the death doors either. Life is death, and death is life. I quietly decided to lead the team through the death door. The others hesitated briefly but soon nodded in agreement. Rather than wait to die outside, better to enter the death door and seek a sliver of hope. Inside the door was another scroll. The entire scroll was white, empty of everything. Nice to meet you all. Entering the death door was truly the wisest choice. A fat, big-headed man walked toward us, covered in flab. When he walked, you could see all his fat jiggling. His eyes were unnaturally large, and his ears were absurdly big too, like a pig. I quickly averted my gaze from him, waiting for him to continue. Fat, the game is simple. Each person takes turns saying what they lost. I want the truth, okay? Everyone present had lost some organ. I couldn't help but wonder, was this game really simple? Fat, what happens if someone lies? Fat's eyes suddenly lit up. Then someone will die. He let out a sinister chuckle and announced the game had begun. Finish the game, and everyone could find 4 facial puzzle pieces in the pig pen. Fat reached out and flipped a switch on the wall. A table rose from the ground. 5 people sat back to back in a circle. An axe hung above our heads. Clearly, whoever lied would get the axe dropped on their head. Fat stood by the table, eager to start. The game begins with Ahua. Ahua was the man without a mouth. Strangely, Ahua never spoke. No, it wasn't that he didn't speak. I just couldn't hear anymore. Fear engulfed me from all sides. I saw Fat smiling as he stood before me, his lips moving in slow, deliberate motions. His speech seemed intentionally slowed down. I read his lips. Your turn. I opened my mouth, but my throat felt parched. I lost my ears. The terror of losing my hearing wrapped tightly around me. I saw Fat reach up and take the axe from the air. Someone had lied. Who would dare lie in a life or death game? Beyond my fear, my heart sank deeper and deeper. Before the game started, Fat had made it clear that lying meant someone would die, but he never specified who would die. In this game, there were only 4 puzzle pieces. Someone would inevitably get nothing. I had overestimated human nature. The liar had planned to kill someone. Fat brought paper and pens because we each wrote down our suspect. The one with the most votes would be eliminated. At some point, my forehead was covered in a fine layer of sweat. I couldn't hear what the others were saying. If someone had to die, the liar could easily guide the others to vote for me while I couldn't hear. Everything was utterly silent. My eyes aren't missing. The person who wrote this was Xiao Qin. Her face was pale, a cruel glint flashing in her eyes. With her missing nose, she looked like something from hell. I didn't want to provoke a demon. I instantly understood her meaning. Azai had no eyes. He couldn't see what was written on the paper at all. I instinctively glanced at his eye. Yushun, who do you accuse? I could hear again. I snapped my head up. Fat was holding the axe, smiling at me with amusement. I looked at the others. Their mouths were moving, but I couldn't hear a thing. My heart sank again. I could only hear Fat's voice. Yushun, you've made your accusation. Fat shoved the voting paper into my hands. You're the captain. Whoever you vote for gets eliminated. Afat still wore that amused smile. The others watched me in silence. Azai held his breath. Aside from him, the other three had all written Axis' name on their papers. My hands began to tremble. I couldn't bring myself to write. Like an executioner at the gallows, I had no right to question whether the condemned was guilty. The blade falls, the head drops. I had no choice. Azai couldn't see. Warm blood splattered across all our faces. Axis' head rolled to the ground and burst open. A pool of blood spread across the concrete floor, seeping into the cracks. It traced the shape of a door. The door-marked life rose from the ground. 4 puzzle pieces, each with a facial feature, sat in the grooves. The 4 puzzle pieces belonged to the nose, mouth, ears, and eyebrows, exactly matching the organs we 4 had lost, and our senses were partially restored. My ear felt itchy, and I heard faint, chaotic crying. The joy of finding the puzzle pieces quickly faded. Because a 5th piece was missing from the groove, below it was written a notice: 5 people must leave holding hands. With a low beep, the electronic clock on the white wall began counting down. This time, we only had 60 seconds. Everyone's face turned pale. Just moments ago, we had jointly caused a companion's death and sealed our own fates. The only girl in the group collapsed to the ground. The rest of us were in utter despair, just when we were at a loss. Strange laughter echoed from our side. It was that disheveled-haired woman, leaning against the wall as if she had no bones. She waved the puzzle piece in her hand. "Can I join you?" The disheveled-haired woman staggered over and grabbed my hand. She reached out and touched the side of my head where my ear used to be. "So, can I join your team?" As she spoke, she pressed her hair-covered face against the back of my hand, looking eerily submissive. Only 10 seconds remained. I had no time to think. I shoved Fengzi toward the door of life. The 5th puzzle piece opened the door of life. The 5 of us walked hand in hand through the long corridor, arriving at a pitch-black place. In the darkness, I seemed to see a pair of round, gleaming eyes staring at us. It's coming, it's coming. I could clearly see that. It slowly approached us. It had long tusks covered in mottled stains. Notably, this wild boar had no ears. In the dark, facing a wild boar was clearly not a good situation. While I was still thinking of a plan, Fengzi suddenly charged forward and threw something at the boar. Immediately, a pungent, spicy smell spread through the space, stinging our noses and hitting our heads. I felt dizzy. In a haze, I saw the boar's head slowly drooping down. Finally, it rested completely on its front legs. It fell asleep. The game was about to begin. Cold sweat dripped down my forehead. In the pitch black, it was hard to tell where we were. I couldn't guess what this game would be. A boar? Yes, it must have something to do with a boar. Before I could figure out the connection, the disheveled-haired woman walked to the wall first. We seemed to be in a new pigpen, with things painted all over the walls. Something strange happened again. The lights on the wall turned on by themselves. In the flickering firelight, the concrete beneath our feet receded. The floor became a smooth mirror. In the dim light, we finally saw what was on the walls. The entire pigpen wall was a painting. Each brick was a fragment. The bricks on the upper west side had all fallen off. The painting showed the sea and small figures. On the east side, there was a moon partially hidden by the sea. The mirror world beneath our feet began to move. The moon rose from the sea. Moonlight stirred gorgeous waves on the dark water, gently undulating in the night. The scene was magnificent. If not for the boar opening its eyes, everyone would have been lost in it. The boar was awake. It came after dark, or more precisely, when the moon rose. Fengzi and I reached for the puzzle pieces on the wall at almost the same time. The pieces matched the scenery in the mirror. Exactly. I didn't know what the boar meant to us, but the words it had spoken earlier clearly signaled its danger. I turned to look at Fengzi. His hair still covered his entire face, hiding his expression. I asked, "Can the puzzle control the moon?" Fengzi didn't answer. But his actions told me the answer. The moment he removed all the moon-painted bricks, the moon in the mirror stopped moving. The boar in the corner closed its eyes again. As I had guessed, the moon rises in the east and sets in the west. We had to use the puzzle pieces to control the moon's rising and setting. As long as the moon couldn't rise, the boar wouldn't win. The others snapped back to reality. Everyone worked together to fit the bricks into the empty spaces. The moon set in the west. I had just relaxed when I heard a painful wail behind me. It was the girl without eyebrows. Her body was pierced by blue flames. Blood flowed from both sides of her head. She was suspended in midair, convulsing. The wild boar was staring directly at her. She had grown a pair of human ears. The boar's nostrils puffed hot air, and the stench made everyone dizzy. Blood splattered everywhere again, staining the moon in the mirror red. The boar had completely gone mad. I was pulled into a corner by the disheveled-haired woman. The boar's new target was Zayaakan. Guess why it chose Zayaakan? Zayaakan had been cornered into another corner by the boar, with nowhere to retreat. Finally, she pulled a knife from her pocket. She shouted and charged at the boar. The fight between them was evenly matched for a moment. I always felt Zayaakan could kill this boar. Actually, Zayaakan and I were from the same village. She was the notorious gang leader in our village, skilled in combat. You don't think this fool can win, do you? The disheveled-haired woman continued muttering, her voice full of disdain and mockery. It was at this moment. She kept staring at the moon on the wall, her eyes fixed on the east side. Ha ha ha, you figured it out, haven't you? The disheveled-haired woman's words made me tremble uncontrollably. I stepped back 2 paces, staring at her in disbelief. It was you from the very beginning. Everything was part of the disheveled-haired woman's scheme. The moon rising in the east and setting in the west was wrong. The moon should rise from the west. It was my oversight. I forgot the moon's phases shift with its cycle. We entered the pigpen on the 6th, counting from the dark stone chamber. It should be the 8th now. On the 8th, the waxing moon rises from the west. That disheveled woman knew all along. She deliberately guided us to wake that boar. I clenched my fist, gritting my teeth, and punched her, sending her staggering. Ha! The angrier I got, the more wildly she laughed. She rubbed her face through her hair. I'm helping you find ears. Helping me? Ridiculous. Across the pen, Zayaakan's ear had already been torn off by the boar. No time to waste. I shoved the disheveled woman aside and frantically grabbed the puzzle piece from the west wall. Before I could place it on the east side, the glass beneath my feet shattered completely. The boar was slashed across the throat and fell. Zayaakan knelt beside it. She slowly pulled Zayaakan's knife from her own neck. I watched Zayaakan drag her broken body backward, terror filling her gaping mouth. She forced a grim expression onto her face. Don't kill me. The disheveled woman was clearly beyond reason. She grabbed Zayaakan's other ear. Amidst the screams, she held a bloody ear in her palm. Then came a crack. Zayaakan's neck was snapped. As I walked out of the pigpen, my blood ran cold. The disheveled woman stood beside me. Murderer. One squeeze on your neck and you're the next Zayaakan. I did this for you, Yayushan. Her other hand reached into my pocket. I pulled out the objecto fragments of ears. With these fragments, my hearing was sharper than before, but that faint stench was even more noticeable now. My heart raced. Why? The hand on my neck suddenly tightened. So we're the same kind of people. I struggled beneath her grip, my mind in chaos. The disheveled woman and I were the same. I wanted to refute it, but I couldn't deny it. Only 5 of us could enter each door. With 31 of us left, someone would inevitably be left out. I had a strong feeling the disheveled woman was waiting for us to kill each other off before she stepped in to fill the gap. Perhaps she had seen everything we did from the start. Yes, I helped kill innocent Azing. I had the deciding vote back then, but if not Azing, who else could I have chosen? I couldn't see the disheveled woman's expression, but a voice in my head kept screaming, she knows all your secrets. Most importantly, with the new puzzle piece, my hearing had recovered further. I stopped struggling in her grip. I coughed painfully. Who are you? She finally let go and threw me to the ground. She stepped forward and touched my bald head again. Dong-san. Only Ahua and I remained from our original group, but Ahua was now watching us with wary eyes. He clearly lumped me in with the disheveled woman. We stood in a pure white space, the 6 doors of life and death before us. 1 or 2 people emerged from the other doors. By unspoken agreement, no one mentioned those who had disappeared from their groups. Congratulations, guests, you're halfway there. Rocket appeared with his red notebook. He quickly counted us and frowned. 12 people. Oh dear, 2 extra. The moment he spoke, everyone instinctively stepped back. Not enough ears and eyes. An invisible hand pushed me from behind. The 4 of us, without ears or eyes, were shoved to the front. Rocket tilted his head, smiling. Then let's play a little game. He pretended to be kind. I want to make it hard for you. The familiar truth or lie painting game. Clearly, everyone present had played this game before. Another man without ears immediately ran back. No, I won't play. I don't play game. Rocket smiled ambiguously at him and coughed lightly. He leaped into the air, hovering midair. Long vines shot out from behind Rocket, binding the man and dragging him back. Another vine, sharp as a blade, swept past his head. Oh my, what a pity. A pair of bloody eyeballs fell to the ground. You really won't play? Rocket gently stroked his nose, then gestured toward the rest of us. Don't any of you want to join the game? Everyone shuddered. I forced a stiff smile at Rocket. Joining this game was absurd. We didn't know each other at all. How could we possibly tell truth from lies? I glanced at Rocket's face, his smile unreadable. A realization dawned on me. Truth or lies didn't matter. I got the knife from Don San and, under everyone's gaze, charged at Rocket. I plunged the knife into the heart of the man who tried to flee. Blood soaked my hands, and in my palm it gathered into red beads. I locked eyes with Rocket and hurled the beads to the ground. Now we have enough ears. Heh! A strange laugh rattled from Rocket's throat. He picked up his pen and scribbled in the red notebook, repeating my words in a mocking tone. With my ears finally enough, I sighed in relief and retreated into the crowd. No need for more games. The remaining two's duel ended in death too. 10 people, 2 groups, were left in this game. We were locked in a new pigpen, or rather, a carefully crafted hunting ground. As we stepped into the slightly empty pen, light streamed in, revealing the dark grooves in the pen and waiting the pigs that lacked facial features. Some had no eyes, some no noses, mouths or ears exactly like us people. My face grew paler. The pigs stood up and pressed closer. I could even clearly hear them swallowing their saliva, as if they would tear us apart like pigs. My head spun, nerves stinging sharply. My mind was filled with wailing and piercing cries. In a daze, I heard Don San's laughter. Who said we were the ones being torn apart? Don San and the pigs lunged at each other at almost the same moment. I suddenly remembered the 2 puzzle pieces he'd shoved into my hand after killing Zio Kin. Right, who said we had to be the ones torn apart? I charged into the pig herd too. I grabbed a pig's tusk with one hand and viciously gouged out its eye with the other. Amid its mangled, human-like screams, I was drenched in a wave of heat, bloodlust filling my eyes, the stench of gore flooding my mouth. I frenziedly bit and tore as the pig stumbled back. Amid the denser and denser cries, I could hear cracking sounds. So I'd said it before, were the same kind of people. I lifted my head from the pig's back and saw Don San popping a pig's eyeball into his mouth. My mind was a blur. Through blood-filmed eyes, I saw Don San's silhouette against the moonlight. He raised a hand and brushed back the thick hair on his face. I tumbled off the pig's back. Don San's face bore nothing strange at all. He walked toward me step by step. His face, with nothing on it, rippled like skin blown by wind, blood blisters bubbling where his features should have been. From a distance, eyeballs materialized on his face. 2 black holes bulged larger and larger, and blood beads gradually formed all his features. Instinctively, I touched my own ears. My mind finally cleared. Everything around me had turned wild and distorted. All the pigs were dead, but the people were slowly becoming pigs. No, were different. I shoved away Don San, whose face had nearly fully turned into a pig's head. Of our group of 5, only Don San and I remained. This all defied my understanding. How could I become a monster with pig ears? Ha ha ha! Don San looked at us like he'd discovered the funniest thing in the world. Amid his laughter, the child's crying rang out again. I covered my newly grown pig ears in agony. These pig ears seemed exceptionally sharp. The cries and screams grew louder and louder, as if about to pierce my eardrums. Someone stood before me. His ice-cold hands slowly stroked the pig ears on either side of my head. See, I helped you find those ears. No, these aren't my ears. I viciously grabbed at the fat pig ears, trying to rip them off my head. Don San stared at me, still laughing to himself. Not satisfied with these ears, guest Huokai, holding his notebook, had arrived unnoticed. He grimaced as he stepped around the corpses. He looked me up and down. If you're not satisfied, they can be replaced. Those words felt like my lifeline. I grabbed his hand desperately. Replace them. Replace them. I only cared about getting normal ears back, completely missing the smirk curling at Huokai's lips. A cryptic smile formed. He snapped his fingers, and everything around us began to dissolve. The pigpen crumbled brick by brick. This stone path became a wild road, red bone structures forming each ascending step. Flanking the stairs were countless pig specimens. Their appearances were bizarrely pigs, yet each bore human-like features. Their faces were etched with terror, all hideously contorted. I was practically carried up by Don-san. This stone mountain seemed endless. It was deathly still, and an inexplicable fog added to the eeriness. The pig ears involuntarily perked up. The crying pierced my eardrums again, splitting my head with pain. The closer we got to the summit, the louder and more piercing the cries became. I seemed to see a slaughterhouse, countless pigs pressed under machines, their organs being harvested. At the mountaintop, an old man stood towering. When he bent down to look at us, he brought an immense pressure like a god. "I heard you want to replace your ears." He looked at me, seemingly displeased. I looked up at him, bewildered. My voice was hoarse, my throat feeling like it was stabbed with needles when I spoke. "I want to replace my ears, but these ears said you begged for them yourself." Don-san's features had all become a pig's. His laughter mixed with pig snorts. Huokai, standing nearby, also smiled at me. A thunderclap suddenly boomed across the sky. The ground shook violently. I looked back. All the pig specimens had come alive. They trampled over layers of bones, crimson light glowing in their eyes. I was surrounded by thousands of pigs, with no way to retreat. "Do you really want to replace those ears?" The old man's voice weighed like a mountain, crushing my spine. The pigs all opened their mouths, grunting as they closed in step by step. My ears were flooded with every kind of sound. Amid the tearing screams, I finally couldn't hold on and passed out. I jolted awake in bed. All the sounds had vanished. I reached out to touch my ears. They were still there, attached to my head. A nightmare? I rushed into the bathroom. Seeing the inverted ears in the mirror, a truly normal human marvel, I washed my face and feet for a moment. On November 27, 320,022, 4,300 new virus infections were reported. The X virus was highly contagious. The infected were still losing their facial features. The TV in the living room autoplayed the news, and my blood ran cold in an instant. The earfish dragon's dry sound exploded in my ears again. I need my eyes, my ears. I can't live without ears. My child is only 1 year old and has no mouth. How can he survive? Countless voices. Voices rushed into my ears. I seemed to see these people step by step forcing me back. What on earth was happening? My ears hurt more and more. More voices flashed by. I closed my eyes and curled up in pain. "So you still want to draw ears?" I opened my eyes. Danshin and Huoji were staring at me with exaggerated grins. My expression was dazed. Danshin walked to my side, his laughter especially sharp and self-assured. "I always told you, we are the same kind of people. Danshin and I are the same kind. We are both pig farmers. The X virus is a new type of virus with 70 stars. Anyone infected would have their facial features slowly devoured by the virus. Danshin was a biological researcher. He discovered that animal facial features could completely replace those devoured by the virus. Initially, we jointly established a hospital to transplant animal organs for the infected masses, but the number of animals was consumed quickly. To provide more transplantable organs for more people, I joined forces with more people to establish a pig farm, and that's when the idea was born. Who said people couldn't be turned into pigs? Under Danshin's operation, more and more people were infected. Initially, the infected only needed 1 organ transplant. Later, during the transplant, other damaged parts had to be replaced at the same time. We cut off people's ears. Because the virus would cause ears to necrotize, we replaced people's eyes, because pig eyes were big enough. Danshin and I made a fortune from these necrotic organs when I fell into the most refined world. A petition written in blood sent Danshin and me to the trial seat. I was in a bloody red world, surrounded by monsters that were neither human nor ghost. The black-robed warden still looked down on me from above. Huoji's hand held that red thing. More than the words themselves, my crimes were being recited. I finally understood my situation. Everything I experienced was deserved punishment. The so-called secret game was merely the tribunal's punishment for people like us. My whole body trembled. I raised my head to defend myself. Only then did I see the warden's ears above still wrapped in gauze. "Your confession ends here." The warden's voice seemed to come from the other end of the sky, carrying its own pressure. like a judge from hell. Since you want to change ears, then let it be done for you. He waved his hand. My pig ears fell to the ground with a thud. At the same time my head itched unbearably on both sides, and a pair of human ears emerged. I forgot everything for a moment and was overjoyed. I was stunned by the sound I made, feeling my whole body in excruciating pain. I saw Danshan's body twist at the same time, his mouth making the same ugly pig sounds as mine. I struggled painfully and finally collapsed on the ground. Danshan was gone too. In front of me was a complete pig, and in its eyes I saw myself. A hideous, foul-smelling pig.